Hey there, we've all grown up learning about the importance of water and how water accounts for about 60 to 70% of the human body weight. We've also been taught that the camel is the only animal that actually has stores of fat which can be easily converted into water as it traverses through the desert for days with actually a very scarce supply of drinking water available to it. And in spite of knowing these two basic facts, we as humans find it so very difficult to meet our recommendations in terms of water and liquid intake. Why is it so difficult? That in spite of learning about all of this right from childhood, even children are not encouraged to drink water. It becomes easier for us to drink water during the summer months when temperatures rise, we start sweating, and then there's a natural instinct because we feel thirsty and we tend to drink more liquids. But what happens during the winters? What happens to people who work in air conditioning and who travel around in air-conditioned cars? They don't realize that their water requirements are actually much higher and equivalent to the amount of water you need to be drinking during the summer months. That brings us to a question: how much of water should we actually be drinking? And the answer that you will give me is definitely 8 glasses of water, because that's something else that we've been taught as children. Well, 8 glasses is no longer a standard because a glass size can vary and one glass can be anywhere between 150 and 300 ml. So we shift over to volume, and that's where we come to a realization that maybe the human body requires a minimum of 2 liters of water. But to put it very simply, how do you calculate your water requirements? It's dependent upon your weight and your physical activity patterns. So try to aim for at least half of your water intake in terms of your body weight. So if you weigh in terms of ounces, so if you weigh about 60 kgs, that's about 30 ounces of water that you need to be consuming. That's the minimal amount of water. So 30 ounces would translate to about roughly 1 liter of water. But increase that by about half a liter to make sure that your body is functioning at its optimal capacity. Well, there are a few myths regarding water, and let's try to tackle each of them through this session. The first thing, does the temperature of water actually make a difference? Well, for everybody who thinks that no, there is research that shows that maybe cold water is better absorbed and faster absorbed by the human system. So if you really don't have a preference for temperature of water, try to drink a little more of cold water so your body is absorbing it much better. The second thing that we often hear people tell us is that the temperature of water, and that is definitely cold water, will make you, and especially children, catch a cold. Is that true? Not really. Please remember that colds are caused because of a virus, and virus is there around the environment in which we're living, not really in the water that you and I drink. So temperature of the water is not really going to cause your child any harm, although that cold water can sometimes be irritating depending upon an individual. So if that's what's happening to you or your child, stay away from cold water, but do not definitely decrease your intake of water. The next thing that we hear a lot of people tell us is that the timing of water will make a difference to how your food is absorbed. And actually speaking, you'll hear a lot of news on the internet doing the rounds saying that when you drink water just before a meal, it dilutes your digestive enzymes. No truth to that at all. Also, remember that in case you are a child or you're looking at increasing your nutrient intake through the food you eat, it makes sense not to drink water during a meal or just before a meal, because that will decrease the amount of food that you are consuming. However, if you're looking at weight loss, then maybe drinking a little bit of water to fill your stomach up before you actually eat food can help you. So the timing of your water intake would be dependent upon your physiological condition and what is your aim in terms of health status. The next thing that you should remember is that water is required for hydration of your skin. And that's why the emphasis on making sure that you drink water every 2 to 3 hours. Just like we time our meals, make sure that you also have a time to drink water. We don't really have an alarm that tells us it's 9 o'clock and time for breakfast or it's 1 o'clock and time for lunch. It's just a natural instinct to eat at that particular time. But if you want to form the habit of drinking water, make sure that you drink a glass of water which is about 200 to 250 ml every 2 hours. and that will help you reach your goal of 1.5 liters of water every day. A few other tips that you can keep in mind is that for everybody, and I've heard a lot of people say this, that they don't like the taste of water. What you can do is squeeze a little bit of lime in water and try to drink that. Drink a lot of herbal teas, which will again add to your water intake. Eat water. When I say that, there are a lot of fruits and vegetables which are rich in water. Berries, broccoli, spinach, melons, these are water-rich foods. Try to incorporate them on a daily basis in your diet. What we also have to remember is to stay away from certain liquids which can be diuretics or dehydrating in nature. Caffeine, colas, alcohol, these are things which will actually increase your requirements for water. So if you're habituated to having any one of these beverages, make sure that you're increasing your water intake by at least half a liter to 750 ml. And I would end by drawing attention to a few professions that actually have to make a little more conscious effort to increase their water intake. People in the hotel industry, people working in laboratories, computer professionals, people working in an air-conditioned environment for a major part of the day. Make sure that you're meeting your water requirements by getting into the habit of drinking a glass of water every 1.5 hours. And normal physiological conditions like lactating mothers also have an increased water requirement. So that's your tip for this episode. Make sure that you meet your water requirements dependent upon your weight and your physical activity pattern, and aim for at least 2 liters of water every single day.